So in the book, I have two longer chapters. One is called The Purple Heart. I interview Doug Anderson as a poet. And the other one, I interview my friend Anne, who now I consider her my friend, about her dwelling. And so when I first knew I was writing a book on the Psalms, I knew that I would want to interview Doug because he is such a beautiful poet himself, a scholar, not of the Psalms, but he's got a PhD, does a lot of things, a long history of teaching, and his sobriety. He's done a lot of work connecting all of these different pieces. So for me, I think the mystery of being raised by somebody who is a war veteran and had whose life had been impacted by that, and therefore my life was impacted by that. But as a writer, I want words, I want an understanding that has to do with language. And so I sought out Doug. Doug, to me, was somebody who had come out the other side of war trauma. Not come out the other side. He had integrated more than most people that I know has gone through that, because he's done a lot of work. And when he was talking to me about going back to Vietnam, that he had been so crushed and come back so broken, and then going back to Vietnam as a writer, you're not going to find very many people who have that scope of healing in their lives. And that's, to me, a true spiritual leader. And so I was very interested in him talking to me about what his story had been. And really, it was a way of trying to understand my dad, filling in the gaps of what I would never really be able to understand about my dad's connection to death in particular, and the constant feeling that death was about to be right there and sudden was how we grew up in a lot of ways. And so it was kind of tough. And so in terms of getting to an understanding of my dad, letting go, forgiveness, all of that, what Doug had to say about the Psalms was really instrumental for me. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful for his openness. I'm grateful for what he shared about it. And with Anne, I interviewed her because she had said something. I sort of put out a call to my prayer group. Oh, does anybody would be interested in talking to me? And she emailed me back and she said, I've just been studying the Psalms for the last couple of years, but I find them very interesting because the perfect Psalm always seems to find me. And I was like, oh, I really want to talk to her, because that's my belief too, that they will find you. And what I love about Anne's story is that it's the idea of home, that you're in a home, you can't be in your home anymore, and the fear of that. So really it paralleled my own divorce of losing my home, having to move. I know that feeling of losing your home, and it's so devastating. And you don't really have the belief that something better is going to be beyond it. But Anne had to leave her home. The person was like, well, I need to rent out this apartment and you're going to have to go. And it was amicable, but she needed to find another home. And she found a place closer to her children. She had prayed about it. It was a very simple story, but also very profound to me, of just the search for home. And when she started talking to me about the heartache that she has carried, she lost her mom at the age of 21, and how long it took her to feel filled up in a way. That loss was so huge. And yet she kept putting one foot in front of the other. And then eventually, now as an older person, has the Psalms, has a faith, has a church, and there's a feeling of wholeness from her. But a lot of us, you lose somebody at an early age, or you have that level of trauma, what Doug went through, what Anne went through. These are regular people amongst us who have looked at the Psalms to get through. They're just people that you wouldn't think, they're not celebrities, they're not famous, they haven't done anything, you know, to put them in the news, but they're, to me, in a way, the true heroes, because they're regular old people surviving a great deal of heartache and coming out the other side. And I just, that's the kind of people I admire and am drawn to.